Hi. Another year has come and gone, and that means another year of reflecting on the books that we've read in 2023. So, looking back on my reading for 2023, I realized that there are only a handful of books that actually made it into my favorites list. And although I did have a lot of fun reading this past year, I find that only some of these books have really been able to reach that level of being a favorite book of mine. So today we're just gonna be talking about these books, this heavy stack of books. Remains of the Day is a book by Kazuo Ishiguro, and it is essentially a very quiet book, but it packs a punch within its pages. It talks about this English butler who is traveling in the English countryside, and it just shows you that discovering yourself is never ending, and you are going to be able to find different facets of your life and reflect on those facets in different ways as your perspective on life and things change as well as you grow older. So this book is essentially about the butler who is reflecting on his life, specifically the facet of his life being a butler who is serving this house. And within the walls of this house, a lot of important world decisions and events have occurred, and it just begs the question of what is more important, the world or your own life as well. I don't know if that's really one of the aims of the book, but that is one of the things that I truly absorbed when reading this. So this book really makes you feel quite lonely and nostalgic, and yet it also awakens in you this yearning for a fresh start. Rouge is another book by Mona Awad, and if you've read Bunny, you would know or have an inkling of what this book entails. So this is essentially a critique on beauty and how we capitalize on beauty. It shows you in this very dark and atmospheric way the lengths that people would go for just for beauty. It follows this woman who goes into her mother's hometown, well, not really hometown, but the town where her mother lives, and just gets sucked into this cult like organization, and it's just so bizarre and also so interesting. What I love about Mona Watt's writing is that she just shows this mastery of painting a picture in a cinematic way, so it really makes you picture it in your mind. So whether it be using objects or colors, so in the case of Rouge, there's a jellyfish, a rose, the color red. So stuff like that just makes the experience even more immersive, I think. If I had just one critique of the book, the Tom Cruise bit is just too bizarre for me. It takes away from the book a little bit when you hear Tom Cruise again. Well, when you read Tom Cruise again, and it's just strange. I mean, Mona Awad's books are already so strange, and I found the Tom Cruise bit strange. So, take from that what you will. The next is the Dance of Thieves duology. So we have Dance of Thieves, and then we have the second book, which is Vow of Thieves. So this duology is such a fun and exciting read. To me, it's not the perfect fantasy book. It's not as impressive as some of the other works of whom the writing style I really admired. It's not as impressive as some of those, but it's just really fun. I liked the story, I liked the concept, I liked the characters, albeit sometimes it felt a little lacking in terms of world building because you kind of have to fill the gaps where the author was not explaining. I'll just hold up this one because it's quite heavy. But yes, Dance of Thieves. So this essentially follows a former thief who is now belonging into an organization who works for the queen, and she just goes to this town, to this kingdom, and she just has a mission. And yes, it's a very vague way to put it, but also I found that being very vague with the plot and on the back made the experience of reading this so much better, because I was able to discover more as I went through and not from the plot of the book. But yes, if you like Game of Thrones and you would want a less intense version of that, I think Dance of Thieves has a similar kind of concept, but not really. It just feels like it's in the same world, but also not really. But if I were to find quite a similar work of fiction that I know of, I would think that this would be quite similar to Game of Thrones. So yes, if you are craving for some nostalgic YA vibes, I think this would be a good pick for you. Every now and then, I think that this book pops up in people's best books of the year lists, and rightfully so, because this is an amazing book. So this very short book actually contains correspondences between Rilke, the poet, and Franz Capus. Capus was actually asking Rilke for advice on writing poetry, and within these letters, you actually get so much more than you would expect. You would get thoughts on love and life in general. And I think that poets have this unique ability to explore their emotions and their lives in such a deep and meaningful way, and be able to translate it into words that we would be able to appreciate and relate to. So this book is actually quite commonly recommended to creatives or people working in the creative field. However, I think that even if you're not in a field related to that, you would get so much from this book, and I think that every person who reads this book might have unique thoughts and just be able to reflect on it in unique ways. So if you want to read a very short book that would make you think about life, Letters to a Young Poet is a book worthy of your time. I have always loved the movie Emma with Anya Taylor-Joy, and I have been terrified to actually start reading the book because I might not like it. With classics especially, I find that some works are truly hard to absorb and actually understand, but that was not the case with this book. This book was so fun and exciting to read. There's this meme that says that Jane Austen's books are basically the characters just visiting each other's houses, and I heard about this meme in Carolyn and Emma's video. And even if that's the case with Emma, this was not a boring book at all, perhaps because it's comedy, it's satire, so it really hooks you in and entertains you. So it essentially follows Emma, who is a charming yet quite snobby character, and it just follows her visiting houses, interacting with people, matchmaking people, and basically it. I feel like that's such a horrible reduction of the book. So please, if you would be able to find better plot summary, please do. Emma is such a fun book. And I've seen book talks of Jane Austen girlies, and there's a lot of Emma girlies out there. Emma girlies like me. So yes, I just find it funny that Jane Austen thought that nobody but her would actually like Emma as a character, and yet a lot of us actually love her. So Frankenstein is the last book on this list, and let me preface this by saying that this is actually the second time I'm filming this, and I just added Frankenstein because I can't believe that I didn't add it originally in the list. So Frankenstein is a book by Mary Shelley that is the origin of Frankenstein, the character that we know. Probably everyone knows who Frankenstein is, and I just think that reading this book is such a surprise in a good way because Frankenstein is actually a book that makes you think a lot and makes you question morality and humanity, and its prose is just so beautiful. The writing style is something that I really admire. It's the kind of writing style that would make you love words, that would make you rekindle your love for literature, and how much it can shape itself into something that you would really appreciate. So yes, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley is the last book on this list, and it's one of the best books that I've read ever in my life, and you have to read it as well. And I actually do have a reading blog where I read this along with many other books. So if you would want some of my detailed thoughts on this book, you can head over onto that video. So those were the books that have expanded my favorites list forever, and yes, I hope you have found some new books that you would be interested in reading in the next year. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!